Hi everyone, let's talk travel for the 14th of October 2020. I'm Steve Hu, the founder of iFlyFlat. I'm here with my friend Lockie. Well,
G'day.
welcome back. But today is not a Q&A day, but instead we wanted to talk about the business model of frequent flyer reward programs and share with you the enormous value they play on the airlines. Like it's no secret, and you would have heard in the past that Qantas frequent flyer program was worth more than the Qantas airline itself. And these programs are highly profitable, but just how much? So we dug in a little bit, and firstly we looked at Qantas. So for the financial year 2019, so we look back and ignore the impact of COVID, and what it meant was Qantas loyalty made $374 million, which is pretty much the same as about Jetstar Group. So the whole
Hmm.
Jetstar Group only made $370 million that year, making more money than Qantas International, which made 285 million. And actually, the king is Qantas Domestic, making double of what Qantas Loyalty was making at $740 million. I want to share these numbers with you because if you sort of think of how big Qantas Domestic is compared to the Qantas Loyalty frequent flyer, you see that these frequent flyer program is making about half the money of Qantas Domestic. It, it's a bit weird to think that, well, just a frequent flyer program is making half with like so much less work. No airplanes, way less staff,
Mm.
no check-in, no baggage, all that sort of complexity.
Real simple.
So I think
All
I just,
basically
yeah,
all
how
digital.
crazy is that?
It is, yeah. I mean, we were looking up before about 1 in 3 Australian credit cards actually earn Qantas points. So the bulk of it, of the work, is being done by people out there with the cards, spending money. And then they have this huge partner base. They got the Qantas Business Rewards program. But yeah, you're
Yeah.
basically selling something that's digital. It's easy to transact, easy to do. You're not figuring out complex, routes with aircraft and literally moving pieces of
Mm.
metal throughout the air and all the risks associated with that. So yeah, these numbers are staggering. But yeah, Qantas Domestic seems to be the main driver of revenue. It's highly profitable. But we know that in Australia that Qantas and Jetstar and all the rest, domestic is the big driver for revenue.
Yeah.
But just how
Yeah.
much that Qantas loyalty has brought to the table. Second place to
Second,
domestic.
second place and growing consistently year on
Mhm.
year. They're making
Yeah.
more and more money.
Yep.
Uh, And like imagine if Qantas, and we'll talk about Virgin later, if they just did not fly international,
Mm.
uh, how much money they will be making.
Yeah.
Obviously, not talking about the jobs, but how much money they're making. Really interesting. And one fact that you found was that about 60% of all Qantas frequent flyer points issued are sold to third parties.
Mm.
So third parties being the banks, the
Yeah.
credit cards, supermarkets, and all that stuff. So, so therefore that means that potentially less than 40% are from flying.
Yeah. Now that they've built the system, they can just add in more partners. So, we can see here that they jumped up 8% from the previous year in growth, but domestic only jumped up 3%. There's not too many
Mm,
places you can fly domestically, but in terms of loyalty, the partners are endless. So now that they've got the system, they're just adding more and more partners to that system. And as we can see, yeah, 60% of those points are sold to those third parties.
yeah,
So it's a very scalable model. And there's so much more room for growth. I mean, I can think of retailers and shops that I would love to see partner with Qantas.
yeah. And
Uh,
you're seeing more and more of that.
yeah.
Uh, and to talk about velocity, on the Virgin side, they last year bought back their 35% stake that they had
Mhm.
sold to private equity. So they bought that back, and because they knew how valuable the frequent flyer program was. Obviously, sadly, COVID hit, but if COVID wasn't here, they would be fully utilizing
Mm.
all that value back into the business, which was the aim of them buying the business, the Velocity business back. Let's just throw some numbers at you. On the Virgin side, Qantas, Virgin Australia domestic for 2019 made $133 million, and Velocity made $122 million.
Mm,
Virgin Australia International lost 75 million,
mm.
and Tiger Australia lost 45 million.
Tiger.
So
Oh.
with this new Bain sort of like ownership, you can see why they've ditched Tiger Air
Yeah.
because that was a loss making, and you can see why they cut down a whole heap of international routes because they were loss making as well. So therefore, they can just concentrate on domestic, like Qantas, the money making machine, and Velocity, which I'm sure they'll be focusing on trying to making sure that is valuable to members. And I think last week we also talked about Rex wanting to start a frequent flyer program.
Yeah, that
So I think all that adds to give you a slice of the flavor, like how much money these frequent flyer programs are worth to
Mhm.
airlines.
I mean, if Virgin over the next 12 months, all they did was domestic and Velocity, they would be making money, something they haven't done in a while. So, so they should just stick to that. And
Yeah, yeah.
they can slowly open up the international, but one by one.
And think about sort of international actually. In terms of frequent flyer programs, the frequent flyer program was actually started. I'm not sure if it's 100% true or not. It was started by American Airlines to encourage repeat business.
Mm,
And America or the US based airlines are the biggest frequent flyer programs in the world,
mm.
such that Delta Sky Miles recently got $6.5 billion loan that's backed by their frequent flyer program, which means that their frequent flyer program must be worth more than $6.5 billion. Like
Huge.
this is like billions. United is using their Mileage Plus program to back a $5 billion loan, and
Mm.
American Airlines was planning to do it with their program for $5 billion as well. So these are billion-dollar businesses.
It's like they're the central banks to the airlines. They're just tapping into those
Yeah,
programs. So big, big value they can leverage off, and helpful for this season with COVID to be able to back themselves. Um,
and during the GFC, they also did something similar where they didn't actually uh, sell, like use the frequent flyer program to back a loan, but what they did was they pre-sold points to their
uh,
credit card partners. So this year, I think Hilton sold a heap of points to American Express. So American Express, knowing that it's going to be an ongoing partner,
hmm,
bought a heap of Hilton Honors points from them
okay.
to give them cash flow, and obviously they got a good deal from it as well because they know
Hmm,
that they're going to be using it in the future.
okay. So these programs, there's a lot of revenue coming in, a lot of profit being made. So as consumers, how do we get our slice of that value?
Yeah, it's a good question because the airlines definitely know how valuable it is. That's why they run the program. And actually, I think one thing to think about is the airlines run this program not as a charity. They call it a loyalty program, but basically it's a money making machine. So what users to think about is like, well, there's a balance there. They have to give and take, right? For
Mm,
them to run a program and make money from it, they have to give you some stuff. And the magic is how do you make sure that you get a slice of the value?
mm,
So therefore, you just don't follow what they give you.
mm.
Like they
Follow.
they they just drop all these breadcrumbs
Yep.
and you follow them, but really you want to get to that loaf of bread. And
Mm,
if you know what you're doing, you can actually shortcut the process and get that loaf of bread actually faster and more consistently. And actually, this is sort of why I started iFly Flat about 10 years ago because I figured out actually there is a shortcut to get to that loaf of bread
mm.
uh, faster. So, and I guess what most people don't understand is they sort of think, oh, well, I've got these points and they're not worth anything. But actually, they are worth a lot, but it all comes down to what you use those points for.
Yep.
So if you know anyone who's ever redeemed points for a gift voucher or an Apple Watch or an
Mhm.
iPad or even an economy flight or hotels, they've actually then used those points for the lowest value and they made the airline money. Actually, the airline makes money regardless of what you do with it.
Mm.
But the key thing is how much value are you getting out of it? So, and I guess where
Balance.
we've been,
Yeah.
yeah.
win-win.
What we've been talking about is business class is where you win the most.
Yeah, this is where it's geared towards you. You get the most value.
Yeah.
So the airlines
So,
will make money if you buy a toaster or a gift card.
Yep.
But
Yep.
you'll get better value by getting the business class ticket.
Yeah, correct. Because that's, even though you get a business class ticket, doesn't mean the airline loses money. These frequent flyer programs are designed that the airline makes money regardless. So it's up to you to decide how much value you want to get out of it. So what you said is correct. I guess what I want to add is that it doesn't cost an airline $8,000 to fly you to Europe. That's just how much they charge. And obviously, there's a decent amount of profit margin there.
Yeah.
But you can use your frequent flyer points to practically pay for the ticket, which means that you're getting much more value from your frequent flyer points than any other thing you can use the points with.
They're filling the gap. Yeah. And so you're getting the best value. Yeah, it's a good way to think about it.
Because the airline is going to win regardless. The key question is how much of a win you're going to get from that. And I think if you, I guess, figure out what to do with your points, like what we talk about all the time, you'll win big as well, and then everyone's happy. Basically, every single point is worth about 4 cents in your pocket. So, I guess for everyone to just think of how many points you've got and times that by 4 cents. That'll give you an indication how much value equivalent in tickets. So if you've got 100,000 points, then you've got roughly a $4,000 travel credit sitting in your account.
Yeah, awesome.
And that'll give you perspective, because then from that point onwards, you can think, well, if I do something to get 100,000 points, either by credit cards and stuff like that, you're basically banking $4,000 into your travel bank that you can use in the future.
That's a great deal.
Yeah, especially if you did not much to get that $4,000 of value. That's the magic.
Well, if you guys have any questions for next week's chat, send them in to asksteve@iflyflat.com.au or just iflyflat on social media. And next week we'll jump back into some Q&A, yeah? And
Yeah.
questions that you guys have, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. Well, I hope everyone could understand why our love for frequent flyer points is such, because it's actually, if you can fly business class for the price of economy, just like, why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you fly? Yeah. Awesome. Well, as we always say, once you fly flat, you'll never go back.
All right. See you guys.
See you guys.
Bye.